Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where it is day one of the year 2022. So happy New Year's to all you guys and gals out there. Hope you had a great time ringing in the new year. Hope you're not too hungover. If you're not more hungover than I am, then you're in pretty good shape. And I wanted to get this year started off with a bang. I wanted to find a new release of what I think is going to be one of the better knives of the year, and I happened to get my hands on one from a very young creative artist out in California, and I want to take a look at this one today. This one here is none other than the TW Price Design Dawn. Now, before I go any further into this review today, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, we got a lot to go over with this knife, but before we do that, let's take a look at some overall specs here. We have an overall length of 8 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.3 inches and a cutting edge that's just a hair over 3 inches. We have a blade width of 1 inch with a blade thickness of 120 thousandths. Blade steel on this guy is M390 with a drop point style blade, a flat grind, and a handle length coming in at 4.21 inches. Handle thickness is 475 thousandths with a handle width of 924 thousandths. Handle material is titanium, very nice milled titanium, which we will talk a lot more about here later on, and a locking mechanism of a frame lock with a right hand only tip-up carry, a weight coming in at 3.3 ounces, and a price starting at $265. Now, for that price, it's very important to know that this is obviously, with the designer here being, very young and new to the game of knife designing. This is actually his first design that's being released. This is going to be manufactured by Bestech, which does a phenomenal job with premium knife manufacturing. So they're definitely one of the better ones to go with. They're up there. They're probably just behind Riot and maybe, one other one. They're in that second group behind Riot. So they do a fine job. It's a great OEM to go through. So no issues there in terms of which manufacturer that the designer decided to go with. And let's talk about the designer real quick. The designer of this knife is TW Price. That is Tyler Price. Tyler's a 20-year-old male living in Northern California and pursuing his childhood dream of designing knives. Now, anything else you want to know about Tyler, I'm going to have his entire website linked below, which will also take you to an area where you can learn and take a look at more of this knife and anything else he may have going on with his website. Also very important to note here, the pre-order for this knife has already come and gone. So the pre-order is no longer available, but there will be about 50 extra knives left after the pre-order ship. So make note, if you like this knife, it's still very possible to get. You just got to keep your eyes open, give Tyler a follow on Instagram. It's like TW Price Design, and you will be able to get in and hopefully maybe be able to pick up one of those 50 extras that are left. So I think this is really cool. First of all, the kid's 20 years old and he's making his first knife. That's impressive. That's impressive. That takes some money. That takes some knowledge. It takes, it takes a good amount of skill to take on what he's doing. So I applaud him for that. And more importantly, spoiler alert, I'm applauding him for this design here because it's pretty darn nice. As you guys heard me say earlier, I wanted to get the year started off with a good review of a knife that I think is going to be a bang, and I gotta say, this is going to be a bang in my opinion. Let's get into some size comparisons and take a look at just how big this knife is, and I think you're going to notice it comes in at a very happy size for a lot of people. We have the Kizer Gemini, and then we also have the WE Esprit, and as you can see, using the WE Esprit, it's very similar in length to these two, just a little longer than the Gemini, as well as just really almost the identical length with the Esprit. So very, very close size comparisons there. And then a couple other knives that really stand out to me in terms of, I guess, blade shape, maybe some inspiration of what got Tyler to come up with certain parts of this knife. We have the Benchmade Bug Out, which for something about the bug out, I see a little similarity there. That may just be me, but as you can see, there's also a very good size comparison. And the Sebenza. I want to say I saw from him in a previous post that the Sebenza was one of his inspirations for part of this design. And before we go any further, I want to specify and kind of hit on that for a second, because you always have people complain about, oh, it looks like this, it looks like that, this, that, and the other, taking ideas from other designers, blah, 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 blah. Well, we've come to the point where there's so many stinking knives out there, it's almost impossible to make a completely unique design. And everybody has inspiration from, if I designed a knife, it would probably more along the lines of a Ray Laconico or, a Justin Lundquist. It would be a front flipper, and it would be, it would be clean. I would pull my inspiration from some of my favorite designers too. So I don't see any issue there. And I actually think he did a fantastic job of taking a little bit of inspiration from a Sebenza and taking it to this knife, because they're both radically different, but they're also both very elegant and completely different sizes. I mean, obviously this would probably be more in lines with a small Sebenza. I only have a large, but as you can see, I do see some resemblances in the blade, and I like that a lot. It's one of the things that really draws me to this design. It's elegant, it's classy, but it's also a great user. So I think that's really cool. So in terms of size comparisons, I think everybody has what they need there. And now let's get into just this blade and let's talk about it, because as I already said, it's a very attractive and, in my opinion, an elegant blade shape, but it's also unique. The fuller up here is very nice, works incredibly well. We'll talk more about that when we get to the action, of course. But you have an edge reading coming in at 15 thousandths, and that is a very impressive edge. It's a wide enough blade to where you have very, very nice, I would almost say, premium or premier, like, the type of cutting geometry you look for in a knife this expensive. Obviously, when you're going to spend $250+ on a knife, this one being $265, you want the best of pretty much every category. And in terms of the blade, I do think you're getting that. You got that nice thin edge. You have multiple forms of deployment. You have really just a very nice overall length and size. You have a nice finger choil that I very much enjoy. This isn't a choil that lets you get up there and just really just bear down on the blade, because it's a little smaller choil, but it's very good for that detail work. You put the end of your index finger up there and it fits perfectly in there, allows for good detail. If you ever want to do some heavy, cutting with it, you can definitely do it. But I would grip back a little and get that good, hammer grip, or just a nice solid purchase there for any harder cutting tasks I'd be using with this knife. But other than that, it's just a very clean, and in my opinion, I don't see any issues with it. I would consider this flawless. I love the totally clean blade, just totally sterile, no markings. Love that. Now this is a prototype, so maybe there will be a little marking on the actual run. I don't know that. Even if there is, I'm sure it won't be, hopefully not too intrusive, but the way it is right here, love this blade. Think it's pretty awesome. Like the tip up there, not too dainty. It's really kind of that perfect area of having enough strength, but then also being thin enough to be considered a slicey tip. So like that a lot. And in terms of the transition from the blade to the handle, it just works very well. Everything's in line and just looks very, very nice. It's a clean design. In terms of the ergos are very nice. There's no real hot spot. The clip here is not a hot spot, but it's one of those milled clips that you put, I think the clip they did a good job on. What I'm trying to say is, in terms of the handle and the clip, this is one where you're definitely going to feel the clip. It's not a flat milled clip, so every time it's bent and it has that ramp coming up, you're going to feel it a little more. Now, there are some changes that are going to be made to this knife for the final run. I'm going to give my full review of the knife as it is, and then I'm going to read off those changes at the end to give you guys kind of a good idea of what's going to be changed and kind of my thoughts on that. But in terms of this clip, functionally it works great. I like how they flattened it off here. but it's actually going to be changing. Get to that later. But in terms of just functionality and kind of like depth of carry, as you can see here, it's going to be carrying deep enough for me anyway. I'm totally good with that much of the knife showing. No real issue there. The milling. Let's talk about the milling on this handle, because it is arguably the best milling I've ever felt on a handle. Does a fantastic job of giving you all the grip you need. I like how it's kind of going this way and not straight up and down. Obviously, with milling straight up and down, it would potentially make the knife a little slippery as you're going to, use the blade. So having it at this angle, it gives your hand that good stop. If anything, it directs your hand up and not towards the blade. So it feels good, adds a really good grip, and it's just a really good texture to just feel. I mean, you really feel that. It's not as deep as you would think, but it feels really deep in hand. I am a big fan of that. I like the little purple accent up here. It's not too much. It's a nice shade of purple. It's just a nice kind of, don't know what the actual shade of purple that is, but it's a pleasant shade. It would go with dress shirts and whatnot. So I do like that. There's going to be like 5 versions of this. There's going to be the black candle like you see with the stonewashed. There's going to be the raw tie version with, I believe, a satin blade. Then there'll be a couple Damasteel versions, as well as a black blade version with no milling. So I definitely prefer the milling, and personally, I'm gravitating more towards the natural tie with the satin blade. I think that is super sweet. So I'm going to actually try to get my hands on one of those, because I do like this knife enough to purchase it myself. In terms of everything else on the handle, you have all the bells and whistles. You have your over travel stop. You have your lock bar insert. You have everything you need to have a durable knife that will last probably forever using these materials. You have nice internal milling in here, as you can see. Nice standoffs on the back. Kind of wish those were purple. That would be pretty cool if those matched the pivot. That would be pretty sweet. But even as is, no real big issue there. I still am a big fan of the overall execution of this design. And let's see, what else do I have to say about this handle? That's really it. That's probably my favorite thing about this knife, is there's not a lot of issues to call out. And for a first-time design, that's pretty impressive, because I feel like I know if I came out with a design, I would get it in hand, I'd be like, oh, I gotta change this, change that. And then, like I said, there are going to be some small changes made, but overall, for the first run, very, very well executed. Going into the action is a very nice premium feel. The front flipper works great. The bearings in here, I believe, are caged. Yes, they're caged bearings. The front flipper works great. You can, I believe, let's see here, this is reach around approved, so good to go there. And you get past the front flipper and you get into this milled area here like I was talking about, and this is a very nice milled area. I'm really liking the milled areas that aren't fully milled through, that aren't holes or cutouts. It adds an extra clean look to the knife without there being a hole in the blade. Not that I don't like cutouts. I honestly like cutouts just as much as these milled out areas, but you don't see as many of these, so it makes me a little more of a fan just because of the rarity of them. But yeah, really, really good. You don't have to worry about getting enough grip because it's easily there. You can really flip it out with authority and you get a nice thwack, so the acoustics are in line, the action's in line. It's just a very, very smooth knife. I would probably even consider it buttery, and I haven't really done anything to this. This is just, I have not disassembled it or cleaned it. So yeah, it's just really good. It has a very high fidget factor, incredible overall aesthetics, and the close is just as smooth as the deployment. So no issue with the action either. Now the changes that are going to be made to the prototype you see here. We are going to start off here with a shortened clip height. So the clip height, I'm assuming this is coming down a little. I'm assuming the height is from the base of the handle up. So I'm assuming that's going to be lowered a little. He's also going to add radius to the butt of the clip to reduce the sharpness. So I'm assuming down here, as you can see, it is a little pointy down there. In all honesty, in hand, it doesn't bother me one bit, but I'm also a little calloused and rough down there. So that didn't bother me, but that will be getting softened a little right here. So it'll be a little more rounded for anyone that may feel that. And then he's also going to change the lockup geometry to ensure no slip issues. So apparently that is not very good lockup geometry. I don't know lockup geometry well enough to speak too intelligently on that. So I'm gonna just leave that up to Tyler and say he knows what he's doing. So that will be a welcome change. Now the next two changes I'm not sure about. I'm a little curious to see how this plays out. So the next two changes, he's going to remove the bent over tip of the pocket clip. So as I was saying earlier, how I like this, I'm assuming that kind of like this part here is going to go away. So you're just going to have the ramp ending up without a flattened area or a bent over area like this. This is how I'm interpreting it. So I don't know. My only concern with that is I hope it doesn't create a hot spot. Again, I'm going to assume that Tyler has talked over this with Bestech and probably maybe even gotten a sample in hand. So I'm sure he's confident in doing this change. So I'm not trying to sound too leery. Like I said, I still plan on buying one. So take that for whatever you want. But removing that little bit of the tip there of the pocket clip, and then also he's moving the lock bar relief area, which you see here, this little milled out area. He's going to move that to the inside. So this will just be flat milled like you see on the rest of the lock bar, and then the relief will be on the inside. Now, for me personally, I kind of like that relief area being there because I can easily hold the knife in hand by using that relief area and then just flipping the blade out. It gives my ring finger a really good place to sit, and it doesn't put any pressure on the lock bar. So for me personally, I'm a little bummed that's going away. But again, like I said, I'm still gonna buy one. So yeah, so there's that. I guess we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. Again, I'm assuming he's talked over this with Bestech and he's not just doing it on a whim and a wish. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. So I'm holding confidence in him, and I'm going to be optimistic that Tyler made the right decision. So I will obviously, of course, be doing another video when I get the new Dawn. But this one as is, in my opinion, is a fantastic knife. It's a great start to 2022. Phenomenal overall design and very high quality. It's one that I definitely recommend, but it's going to be one that's kind of hard to get. So you want to be ready. You know, when it's available, I would say it'll probably be gone within 2-3 days tops, if not the same day it releases, because it's a good, unique design. It fits a lot of people's size preferences. And it really, in terms of who's making it and the overall price, $265 for kind of, you know, the little guy going through the manufacturer, it's a reasonable price. I don't have any real issue with the price. You know, Tyler's putting a lot of money into this, so he's got to make money out of it. That's how business works. So no real issue there with the price. I really like the start of where Tyler is going with this. I think TW Price Designs has a pretty bright future, and I really look forward to what they're coming out with next. So with that being said, you guys let me know what you think about the TW Price Designs Dawn. Very excited about this. If you're not following Tyler on Instagram, give him a follow, TW Price Design, and follow his journey and support him, because I think he's going to come out with some pretty good things. So there's that. I hope you guys, New Year is off to a fantastic start. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know what knives you want to check out in the new year. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.